Welcome everyone, Grand Gnosis Master Dr. Thor Templar here. I want to discuss manifesting. Now, as I've always said, the occult sciences is all about manifesting. Occultism in general is about manifesting. It's not some religious or quote spiritual path. And that's important to understand. And one of the things that occultism is different from anything else, and particularly the occult sciences, which is harnessing, manifesting energies to change your life with, to not only change your life, but ultimately to master this reality. We do talk about ascension, but ascension is ascending out of the common disempowered state you're in to a high state of empowerment. And once you reach an extremely high state of empowerment, then you break free from prison camp Earth and the reincarnation cycle, which is horrific. I mean, what a horrible world we live in. You have all kinds of dangers, personal, from traffic accidents to developing diseases, and people are sick all their lives, and children are sick. It's not about old age, whatever that is. You have a very limited period of time to do anything, probably in terms of productive years where you have the money and time, if it ever manifests for you, is probably less than 20 years. Towards the end of your life, you're weak and sick, as most people are. People are kind of living longer, but from all my data, they are not well and they need help. People are reaching 100, but they need a team to keep them going, which nobody wants to pay for. So we're living in this horrible hell here, and we're trying to, on every single level. The point is, you have to beat this reality from manifestation of finances. Money is critical. Wealth is not. Being comfortable, having your needs taken care of, and being able to be in a less traumatic environment instead of living in a giant city to make lots of money is what you seek. You need time. You need money to buy so many things to keep yourself going. I spend a fortune on supplements. And there are the things you need. Training, consciousness machines. All these things cost money. So you need that extra money for that. And of course you need money in general to put a roof over your head, etc. The problem of becoming wealthy is the fact that you become a slave to your own money. If you have a big house, you have to have a whole bunch of people to take care of it. You want a nice big swimming pool? Well, you're probably going to have to pay somebody to clean it because you're not going to have time to. You have a big, giant 2 acres, 3 acres of land? Well, you got to maintain it. So all of this, you fall into the slave category, and then you start working to keep everything going, and that's really not what wealth is anyway. So all of these things need to be fully understood in the process of what this is. So it's very important. The other thing you need to master is you need to master the energies of life to keep yourself well, cure yourself from problems, yourself, your family, your pets, etc., all need healing, and you're going to need healing of one sort or another. Very few people are healthy throughout their entire life, and this is becoming a more and more traumatic situation that people have to deal with. So those are the key things on your ascension path. An ascension path doesn't start at 60 years old or 40. As soon as you become an occult scientist, you're on the ascension path. And the sooner you empower yourself, the sooner you'll be able to make your life successful. Now, manifesting, again, is something that people don't understand. It's in your face. I Dream of Jeannie Bewitched television shows is what many people think magic is. And they think that magic can control people, make them love you, make them into your personal slave. Well, this is all nonsense. And I've never seen it ever happen. And I can't really trace anybody that's able to do this. Of course, as with all magic, it is basically those that are empowered certainly are not going to announce themselves, because they would literally, as I've said many times, be grabbed, persecuted, thrown in prison, murdered, whatever it may be. Like a bad TV show that people may look at as saying, well, that's TV show. I'm afraid that the government has been organized for over 70 years, hunting out people of abilities and recruiting them to work for their evil purposes. And I'm assuming if you don't, well, there are harassments, and this happened with Andrei Pusharik, who initially, like most people do, worked somewhat with the military, and then when found out the kind of scumbuckets they were, moved away. And so the point is that there were harassment done to him, blocks put in his way because you wouldn't work with them. Of course, this was 40, 50 years ago. Now, they would probably kill you. And people have been killed. UFO researchers, John Mack, who was involved in these things, wrote many books. Well, he was he was run down on a London street by a car. How bizarre. And he was the only one hurt and actually killed that this car ran into. Isn't that interesting? So, all these things that happen are much more serious than people understand. Usually what happens, because bodies are difficult to answer to and cause endless questions, they marginalize you, they disgrace you, they cut down your financial ability to make money, and all the things that go with that. So these are the type of things that are done. But getting back to manifesting, and as a part of this ascension process into the level of gnosis, knowing what you need to do in every situation and then doing it, because knowledge is the first step. I mean, you can be as educated and know all the secrets, but if you don't apply yourself, nothing ever happens. And that's like everything in life. I can give you a stock tip tomorrow, or, this horse is going to win, put $100 down, you'll make $10,000, and you say, oh, fuck it. You're just not going to do it. So the point is that that means that when that horse does win, you haven't taken the time. So this is the way things happen in life. And of course, this is how manifestation works for general people. Now, the whole idea is we need to get away from this direct, I want this type of manifestation, and get caught into that. Really, it's kind of a tunnel of stupidity, not really understanding how magic and empowerment works. The whole idea is occult science is about building magnetic fields around you, or at least we can call that. The best way to describe them is that. But they're really scalar informational fields. That's the best way to describe things. Scalar is an informational field. And I like to call them, in the occult sciences, we give them energetic. Generally, scalar fields don't tend to be overly energetic. They tend to be information fields that just go out and do things because they have this information built into them, which then makes things happen. But I like to have more energetic fields, and of course, that's what occult scientists try and do. So what we want to do in this particular area is that you want to continue by using, and we make this as simple as possible. You understand the difficulties, and we need to understand the difference between training and learning. Learning is a lifetime process and left to the experts. College professors, people in certain fields are constantly learning. You come into something and you are trained in it. So you don't need to know all the aspects of it. You need to know how to use this particular tool to achieve the desire you need from that tool. You don't need to know everything about it. That's for the experts, and why bother knowing every particular situation that has to do with that. Now, as a professional, you should know it. As a professional, you should know every possible aspect of whatever you're doing, and that's part of your profession. That's why you're a master at something. Now, you don't need to be a master to gain results. You go to the masters and you say, hey, what do I need to do that? And that's what all training is about. And we've moved more and more into training people and giving them the tools they need. Telling someone, well, learn this course, do this. is very, very difficult. That's why we've shifted over to amulets, the Triforce system, and so many other tools around. These are things you train how to use. You're not learning about consciousness machines, ascension, gnosis. I mean, all of that stuff is, in the bigger picture, means nothing. That's for the researchers. That's for the masters like myself to figure out, to hone systems, to learn all the time, and then change this over to, or develop it to a point where people can use it in a training way. Well, here, you train to use this. The problem with simple things is that people tend not to take it serious enough. But we need to have tools to develop and draw energy from, not become a master, which isn't possible to become. You have to spend 40, 50 years learning everything. Well, why do that? You go to the masters and you get, I mean, every product that we use, a master technically has designed it, engineered it, has manufactured it, and you're using it. But like all things in life, generally, the master figures out a better way to do it. So a product is improved. Now, that can be any types of products. The whole idea is that that's how the process works, and that's, of course, how the guild works as we move more and more into you join the club, you get the technologies, you make it work in your life. So you want to create these, best way to describe them, as I said, is magnetic fields around you. So the whole idea is you're constantly putting positive energy, and these vary. There's to meet people, for love relationships. There's for success. There's for direct money fields if you're involved in money in general, stock trading, other things. You want to create these fields around you. And what happens is that these fields then draw to you opportunities which you have to identify and act on. So the point is, if you're trying to bring money to yourself, well, a pot of gold is not going to be in front of your door when you wake up in the morning. While I have recently researched and looking into, but of course you can never get data there, and I have 3 different cases of people who claim money fell from the sky. Now, I don't know how this can be verified, and a prominent researcher, Barry Taft from UCLA, a parapsychologist who wrote The Entity that was made into a movie, claims he talked to people, and he said this jokingly, but apparently never really followed through on it, and to find out, I have other people that said the same thing. But here again, anything's possible when you use magic. The point is, it's still a lottery type manifestation, meaning the odds against that happening are infinitesimal. So the whole idea is that we need to understand that if you create a positive money field around you, what's going to happen? Well, all sorts of things are going to happen. This is what we see. People are lucky. You know, the guy who wins a prize at some event oftentimes just won a prize. Or maybe he just came back from a vacation that he had won as a prize, and here he goes again. There's someone, I believe, who just won the lotto 3 times. Well, what's going on there? Does he have a system, or is he just drawing these positive energies around them? But again, this tends to be very specific. You have these positive energies around you, and then you think playing the lotto is going to make you win. Well, here again, that certainly is possible, and you're going to dramatically increase your abilities to do this by having these energies around you. But things are not necessarily that direct. The whole idea is that you're always looking to open up channels for things to manifest in your life. And if you're not paying attention or looking for these, well, then there's a big problem. Because things will come to you and you will not pay attention to them because you're looking for that money to just fly into your pockets or fall from the sky when opportunities come to you. Now, opportunities can be varied, and you have to just see these smallest things. I know people have done money drawing rituals. They've found $20, $30 on the ground, and this is not very unusual. So they find money on the ground. But, this isn't a lot of money, but, they pull out an old pair of pants and they find $20 in there. These are the type of things they find. And, of course, that's always a welcome present, but it's certainly not what most people desire. But you have to look at different opportunities depending upon your life. That means what openings are you going to have? Is it a new job somewhere? But if you're not looking for a new job, if you're not keeping your eye out and waiting for those channels to open up for you, then it's not going to happen for you. If you're so centered on your job that isn't going anywhere, that you're not paying attention to what is outside of where you're, well, there's a problem there. So the whole idea is you have to be aware of many things that come to you. It could be a huge discount on something. Well, you want money, and, again, falling from the sky is something I wouldn't wait for. So the whole idea is that you need more money. But you get a discount of $2,000 or $3,000 on a car from a friend, a relative you never heard of leaves you money. There could be opportunities coming to you. You may get time. You may get an opportunity to work a different job, to work overtime, things like this that come to you. You need money? Well, how do you think it's going to come to you? Well, maybe you get a chance to work overtime where you generally don't have that opportunity. Things can open up in channels that you have to pay attention to. So you have to be very aware of the world around you. I mean, it could be as simple. Let's say you're a stock trader. Well, you could be going by a newsstand or popping into a bookstore, and do those exist anymore? And what's on the counter there but a new book on stock trading? How to make $1 billion in stock trades. Well, or you're on the internet and all of a sudden this pops up on your email. So that may not be the direct answer to it, because of course a lot of these things are just solicited, but information even solicited through emails can be extremely valuable to you, and one thing may lead to another. They have this kind of product which may lead to this, but it stimulates your mind, even if you don't buy that product, about thinking about that. Well, maybe that's an area to investigate for stock trading. I never thought of biomedicine. I never thought of investing in marijuana. But here's this information that is presented to you, and you don't have to buy that information, but it's opening a channel for you. So when you have these fields around you, what comes to you is very important. Things are not as random as they appear when you're a occult scientist. Why did you get that? How did you get that information? Things pop up. And it's always good to get as much information as you can. Now, you don't have to buy everything, but, I get numerous emails every day, and I look through them quickly to see if I'm interested in them, then I delete them. If it's something good, I investigate it. It's as simple as that. And they lead me in directions. I don't necessarily have to buy that particular product, but it has stimulated an area of interest that I normally knew nothing about. And then oftentimes I'll buy a product that is similar, but very discounted in price. So this is something that is a way of getting information and getting the highest value of it, not necessarily getting something from the person who's promoting it. But it's about these fields. If you're trying to meet someone, you have to let these fields work for you. And you have to allow your inner magical being to guide you. Not only does it guide you in stocks, it guides you to go places. We've had numerous cases recently of people being guided to go buy lotto tickets in particular areas. And guess what? They've won. From a few hundred to a person who's actually recently won over $1,000. Well, they were told to go there, and they were using guild methods to do this. Well, this is how it works. And of course, that's a pretty direct way. But you're not going to find that money stuffed in your pockets or that pot of gold in front of your door. Well, being directed to the best place to buy a scratch off, or seeing numbers, or just numbers popping in your head. And, we need to understand that these are not things you concentrate on. And this is where it's very difficult to train people in understanding how occultism works. Because it's not something, I'm going to meditate and concentrate and pull those in. It doesn't work like that. It just pops in your head. Now, I've won the lotto several times, smaller pots, which I've gotten 4 numbers. Unfortunately, I didn't pay over $100, but I didn't think about it. I was driving in my car and the numbers popped in my head. It's a go buy a lotto ticket. I pulled the ticket out and just went over the numbers and just circled them. On 3 different occasions, 1 week after another, I got 4 numbers. Well, that's pretty fucking impressive. Now, I should have kept doing that. Unfortunately, that was a mistake and researching in that area. But it just shows you it popped in. Unfortunately, a whole bunch of other people apparently had those numbers, so it didn't pay off very much. So these are the type of things that just pop in. You're not going to concentrate. You're not going to make it happen. It's not about tensing up and projecting energies. It's just the opposite. Almost all occult science practices work from a relaxed, detached reality. There is some evidence that if you're looking for strong telekinesis energies, that being in a high agitated state, like fighting with someone, a personal argument, that things fly off the walls. Now, this has happened to certain people and has been documented that if you want to use telekinesis powers, but the problem with being in a high agitated state is that it's very difficult to control, like all those things. But in general, moving away from that, almost everything is done in this relaxed state. It just pops into you. These are not energies that are commonly measured through the electromagnetic spectrum and through Hertz energies. These are all things that are common nonsense world things that we have got fixated on because they're the boob level of doing things. You know, Napoleon's troops have been noted that they found lamps with bright lights in them throughout the different temples of Egypt. They were not powered by electromagnetism, burning of coals, etc. They were using another type of etheric energy. Burning something, which is all based on heat to move turbines, is about as crude as you can possibly get. So the whole idea is that this and the fact that everything has to be in the electromagnetic spectrum, which some scientists will tell you, if it's not, it doesn't exist. Well, that's a typical scientist. After all, they've solved all our world problems. We should listen to them. Everybody is well, there are no wars, and all technology is wonderful. So the whole idea is that it is not electromagnetic. Now, Russell Targ has, from the famous researcher, has verified that these kind of abilities have absolutely no connection with the electromagnetic spectrum. They put people in Faraday cages, which keeps all these energies out. They have isolated people to the point where they're totally sealed off from any outside energies, and these work. It's instantaneous. That's what quantum physics is all about. The transfer of this energetic scalar field is instantaneous, and it is not measurable by some goofball meter. Now, the point is that there are meters, and if we had millions of dollars, we could easily measure these things. And there are some people that have meters, some researchers that are able to judge these in fairly decent ways. And the Guild has certain equipment as well that can measure these energies in several different ways, and using creative energies as well to actually figure out how to measure these things. But, billions of dollars only goes to make bombs and to make the rich people richer. They never do anything of value. So it is not electromagnetic in nature. So if you're trying to figure that out, a lot of people get caught up in using crude Hertzian frequencies as well. Now, you can use these frequencies to piggyback on, and we've done this for years, but you're using that as a crude signal. We're not really sure how much that helps. It does kind of help psychologically because you can measure what's going in there, and certain frequencies assist certain other fields, but it's very difficult to mix these properly. It may be just a total placebo type effect where you're doing it. But there does seem to be something to it. Electronic radionic machines work faster and better than those that are non-electric machines, which work very slow and oftentimes fail. Why does the electric ones work better? Well, it's the piggyback reality there. So all of this is important to understand. You need to know how manifestation works. The whole idea is to keep these fields strong around you. That's why you put your photograph, and why we have the Triforce systems, and why we have amulets. These are constantly putting these fields of energies around you stronger and stronger. You have to overcome a lot of negativity that is basically in life in general. There may be specific ones for you as well. All of this needs to be overcome as you start to focus on becoming this giant quantum physics, scalar energy, magnetic field, so to speak, because those are the correct terminologies to use. So the whole idea is that as you develop that, as you release all the negativity and you build your field stronger and stronger, all sorts of things will come to you from nowhere, from out of the blue. And you have to be ready to recognize these. These are the all-important channels to manifest through. And nobody ever talks about this. I'm always amused with hearing people that claim to have stories of time travel and other things. Well, maybe you can go for small periods of time, but you got no ID, you got no money. How do you get around? How do you do anything? How do you communicate with people? Your clothes are different. You can't speak the same language if you're going far back, and even in your own country could be a problem. Old English, which is basically Dutch, ain't nothing like modern English. If you go far ahead, there may be all sorts of communication. So how do you get around and do it? None of this makes sense. It's very, very complicated and doesn't make sense when people tell you those stories if they're physically going. If you're visiting astral, well, obviously you don't have those problems. So the point is that it's all about creating these energies around you and consistently. So, people say, well, this person is lucky. This person is constantly. Why are they doing that? Why is someone well, they have these energy fields around them that for one mysterious reason is constantly around them attracting these things. Why? Why are some people have charisma and people like to know them? And why do some people lucky? And there are people who are very lucky through life. What is luck? Well, luck is an energy. Luck is a actual scalar informational field that's surrounding you. And this field is magnetic in nature, meaning it draws things to you. So it pops things in your head. It tells you to do things. These people are lucky, and lucky people tend to go out and do things that benefit them. They'll go to the casino. They'll pick lottery numbers. They'll play slot machines. Whatever it is that they do, or they enter lotteries, etc. How can you know if you're lucky if you're not being active? So they know they're lucky and they are active. Now, directly going after something is always what we all desire and want to do. Now, this is where major problems come in, which cause huge manifestation difficulties. But you can program this field around you with a particular request. I want a better job. I want to make more money. Well, that's written down. It's placed in your Triforce system, or you have an amulet to use, and you need these tools. You can't do this stuff on your own. This is not a sales pitch. This is real. You need to connect to this. The world is too negative, too complicated just to expect these things to happen naturally. There are those rare people, and certainly would be interesting to research these people, but here we go again. Our life is spent in research instead of not doing. So these things are all part of the process. What you want to do is copy that. Well, how do you copy a lucky person? You build those energetic fields around you. And then once you do that, you don't sit back and say, bring me something. You are highly aware, waiting for an opportunity to present itself, and you recognize that and you take advantage of it. That's how general manifesting works. You can specifically go after things, but you still need to program that into your energy field. I want a better job. I want to meet someone. That's you're putting those energies out all the time. The easiest way is to use an amulet which you touch throughout the day that is constantly building that field. If it's success amulet, well, you touch it and think about it for 1 whole second. Takes a lot of time, doesn't it? So 1 whole second, you just shot energy into that electromagnetic field, not electromagnetic. There I go again. You put it in that scalar energetic field around you, and it's increased, and you keep doing this day after day, week after week, month after month, and you continue to draw more and more positive energies to you. Things will happen that you never expected to happen because magic will manifest in the way that it can in your life. And this generally ain't straightforward. If you need a lot of money, well, you're not going to get a $10,000 raise at your job. But, of course, getting a raise is certainly nice. But if you need more money, you're going to have to, it's going to have to come to you in different and very unexpected ways oftentimes. That's how manifestation works, especially for people that don't have direct ways to do it. Now, if you're a person in the stock market, you or can make money by getting large contracts or other things, well, that's what you want to empower. You want to empower stock market success. You want to empower getting a contract. All of these things is how magic works in the bigger picture. When you have channels established for it to come to you. Now, the average person doesn't. This is the reason why we're putting together the ultimate success system, which will show you how to manipulate all financial dealings, from gambling to the stock market to everything in between that can bring you money. Now, nobody knows how to do this. You haven't been taught by any other occult organization. So we're going to show you how to use the occult sciences to affect this, and we are in the process of doing this ourselves right now. So all of this is very exciting, but everyone needs to understand that. You get caught up in a Hollywood reality of what magic is. And I talk to people that usually they are on two sides of the fence. Well, magic can do everything. Magic is a joke. It does nothing. Well, that's nonsense. And we get further and further into the show how powerful, even if we want to go into, quote, biophysical psychic magic, that because of the failure of the medical industry, they're now saying that psychic power can cure you. It can cure the entire body. It's called the placebo effect, which we're researching right now, which I believe and have done an audio on is just bogus. Well, the point is that, but this is the answers that science gives you. First, they said you were crazy and you weren't sick, you were just neurotic. Then they found all these diseases that they couldn't find before. Now the fact, since they've had 30 to 50 years and trillions of dollars in research, well, we're going to do fake operations, give you fake pills, and all these studies have been done to prove that this works. Well, the only thing it proves to me is that there's a lot of goofballs, nut jobs, idiots out there. Well, that's the world, isn't it? People follow stooges, people who haven't even graduated high school, that apparently haven't done much research either, and these are people they listen to. People actually even put their health into people's hands and follow people who are complete stooges. Unbelievable. So we shouldn't be overly surprised at that. So, but a certain amount of this is true in psychic studies, concentrating on particular areas to dissipate toxic cells, cancer cells, etc., have been researched for many years to a certain level of success. The problem is sick people don't have the energy to do this. You have to have someone do it for you. And this is one of the problems with all this is that, and you need a high degree of energy to do magic in general. Another thing people don't talk about, the physical is critically important. Now, all of this is coming out soon. There'll be more details in it. Remember, those who really want to find out more information on all of this should be members of Thor's Club. Lots of ascension information there, lots of walking the lifestyle information, and you're highly encouraged to do it. There's an awful lot of benefits now you get with Thor's Club membership, and I'm happy to extend those information pages to you. As an inner order member of Thor's Club, you have access to just about everything except personal guild business pages. Everything else you get, and it's a fantastic opportunity to learn the very critical things and to expand yourself and to get very unique information you will find nowhere else. Remember, there is no other master who has reached the state of gnosis other than myself who is actively out there teaching. Maybe some people out there that I don't know about, but they're certainly not teaching, and the occult sciences are very unique. This is not the occult. This is the occult sciences. We use anything that works, and we want to know it works. We don't want to live in some grimoire fantasy thinking that this is the greatest document ever because it said so. Well, all these grimoires were nothing more than pulp fiction. Is there something good about them? Yes, but they were also books that were sold, and they make outrageous claims, which I've never known anybody to repeat, at least some of the outrageous claims. There are other things that they help. Are there spirits? Are there? Yes, of course. The problem is that getting them to work in your life consistently is very difficult. That's where the occult sciences comes in to refine these things, the professionals, and then pass it on so you can train in it. You don't need to learn it. So all this exciting things are happening. And remember, people, there is no reality until the occult scientist creates it. Go out and create your own reality. We give you the tools to do this.